What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, go ahead and click that subscribe button, click the notification bell so that you know when I upload new videos. If you are returning, thank you all for joining me. This video in particular, if you are new here, is my review for Married at First Sight, season 10, episode 7, and that episode was called New Wife, New Life. Okay, so this episode, they are making Pastor Cal earn his coins. He had to put in some overtime this week. He looked stressed. He looked like he had to go into his bag of tricks and try to talk these people off the ledge and all kinds of things. Like, he was working, and you know, he was working with the usual suspects, the ones that the problem children that we've kind of seen so far. But then he got another one thrown in the mix. So he had to put in overtime this week. So let's talk about, y'all know I got my notes. I got big paper this week though, look. I'm gonna start with Brandon and Taylor, where we left off last week. Now, they got back to DC, and apparently Brandon left Taylor at the airport and went to his apartment, and she went to the apartment that the experts have put them up. Brandon was nowhere to be found. She was calling him, she was texting him, he wasn't responding. And she said that she was really upset at how disrespectful he was being to her. The way he cursed out on a van and in front of everybody, the other couples, the crew, the everything. It was just really disrespectful, and honestly, it was abusive. He was being verbally abusive, and I don't even know what he said off camera, but based on what I saw, what I heard, it could have been edited, but what was presented to us, that portion, that piece of it was very abusive. And in my opinion, they should cut them from the season. Like, I think it's doing both of them a disservice to be in this situation. She was clearly bothered and upset and looked like she had been crying. Like, she's clearly going through something with him, and we don't know what else he has said to her off screen. We have no idea. But just based on what he has said on screen would be enough for me to walk away. And she said that. She said, I'm done. If this is how he's going to treat me, I'm done. She said that he was being very childish and disrespectful when they were on the bus. From the time that they got on the bus all the way to the airport. Did she have to sit next to him on the plane? She said that he quits a lot and he runs away from things often. And that's very evident. But how do you expect to, Pastor Cal says, grow in love when you can't stick around for the tough things? Because your marriage vow says through sickness and health, rich or poor, like all of that, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that. So you can't just be there for when times are good and the sun is shining and the blue water and the waves are rolling up on the white sand. But when you feel like she's disrespecting you with the camera in your face, you lash out, you run away, you curse her out. Like, you can't have it both ways. I hope for his sake, even after this experiment, that something triggers in him, maybe watching this back, to see that his behavior is not acceptable. It's just not. So Pastor Cal comes to their apartment and he talks to Taylor. As they're talking, Brandon comes in with flowers and he's like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, hey, y'all. No. Like, you guys remember last season with Matt and Amber when he stayed out all night and then he came in and gave her the head nod, the sup. Like, sir, no. He keeps saying, I've apologized. I'm apologizing. I apologize 1,000 times and I just want to move past this. Well, just because you apologized and you're ready to move past it does not mean that she is. Brandon says, you know, he lost his head because he felt like he was being, wait, what did he say? Because I want to make sure. He felt like he was being played by her, and if she's not Team Brandon, then she's got to go. Well, there's no more Team Brandon. There is Team husband and wife. there's Team Reed, there's Team him and her, but there's no more Team Brandon. So just because you're feeling some kind of way, you can't just run off. Like, and Pastor Cal pulled him on that. Like, somebody's got to say it. Somebody has to say it. I don't know what else to say about him. Like, he said he suffers from severe anxiety, but these are not anxiety attacks that he's having. They're not. They are, okay, I take that back. Maybe they are, because anxiety can present itself in different ways. These don't feel like anxiety attack. Pastor Cal made a very, very great point with him when he said that his protection mode is to lash out and hurt someone before he gets hurt. That's his defense mechanism. And that could be a way that his anxiety presents itself, but it's not healthy. It's not healthy for him. It's not healthy for her. It's not healthy for the environment. I'm not surprised that he's 33 and unmarried. He comes in, Pastor Cal kind of checks him, and then he's like, okay, well, you continue to acknowledge that you did wrong, that you're apologizing, but are you ready to accept what needs to be done to make it right and to move on, and for her to feel comfortable enough to move on with you? And he says, yeah, he gives all the right answers. Pastor Cal makes him makes him take his vows. He promises to be the best Brandon that he can be, and I feel like that she can see that it's an unhealthy environment, and if she's smart, she would jump. They went to his apartment and got his stuff for him to move in, and God forbid they forget his air purifier. Jesus, he said that about 5 times. It was awkward. She was trying to be cordial, but I felt like she felt uncomfortable with him. Let's just hope that whatever happens with them, it doesn't get any worse than what it has been so far. Can I just say that? I'm just going to leave them there. Next, Mika and Michael. Let's go with them, because they ended in Panama on a better note, seemed to be enjoying each other in the moment. I don't know if I had noticed it before with her, or if just all of the other stuff was kind of camouflaging it for me, but she is very judgmental. She's very picky, because we knew that from when she started running off her list of what not to do when you live with her. But she comes off as very judgmental. I don't think he takes that very well. I mean, he did talk about not having his mother and not having that motherly love, and probably like having the parental approval of you're doing great, and so when she comes off very judgy, very nitpicky with him, I feel like that's when he starts shutting down or backing off. She did say later in the episode, the way I'm trying may look different than the way that you're trying, but just know that I am trying. And he said, oh, thank you for telling me that. That makes a lot of sense. I think their biggest thing is communication, because when they were talking with Pastor Cal, that's when Michael kind of had a little breakdown, and her whole thing was he will not admit what he said. He says he didn't say it. She says he did, and she can't get past that. And Pastor Cal is like, we can't keep looking back at the past. You gotta move past this. He broke down and cried. Now, I do think that he may be a sensitive guy, but I also think he's conflicted with some things that he's trying to work through within himself, that he won't share with her right now, or that he won't share with Pastor Cal, because when he started crying, he shut down verbally, and the only thing that he could say is he feels like he's a failure. And I think it's definitely bigger than this moment, this situation. Like, it has to be bigger than this. When he was crying, I thought that he's having a hard time being open or opening up, and in a situation like this. And he did say, this is a very unorthodox situation that we're in, but he's open to grow, but I don't think he's as open as he thinks he is. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And because he's not as open as he thinks he is, it makes it that much harder for them to move forward. Like they're taking teeny tiny baby steps. They talked about finances. And he talked about that with, Pastor Cal talked about that with them and with Jessica and Austin. The conversations were kind of at both ends of the spectrum. So Mika and Michael, she's comfortable with his salary. She wants him to be the breadwinner. She says she's tired of making all the money in a relationship and feeling like she's dragging somebody along with her. He said he just got a new position as a principal and his salary has doubled since the wedding. Good for them. More power to them. So they talked about kids. She dominates the conversations a lot. Like either he's just not that talkative type of guy, but she can talk. She can talk with the best. And she comes off as kind of judgmental because she's on everything, asking him, well, what are you looking for? Well, why are you in here? Well, what are you doing there? Well, go ahead and check it out. This is crazy. You put this on this, you leave this on the stove. Who does that? You got all this cabinet space. Who does that? She got to bring it down. She's got to bring it down a bit, and they got to meet somewhere in the middle. Like he's got to bring it up a little bit. He's a little bit too closed to me, and they just got to meet somewhere in the middle. Towards the end of the episode, he asked her, what does she want out of this marriage? She says she wants to feel secure, validated, happy, and be able to trust her partner. And I think she's still on the fence about trusting him because in her heart of hearts, she still feels like he's lying about that whole, he said it, he didn't say it. But they ended on a good note. They ended their moment on a good note. For now. Jessica and Austin. Jessica and Austin for me are the not the wild card. What do you call it? What do you call them? The ones that I didn't think were compatible. They too moved into their apartment. She seemed more concerned about the amount of space that they have because she has a bunch of stuff. She got a lot of clothes, she got a lot of shoes, she got a lot of stuff. Neither of them have lived with a significant other. So she says it'll be a challenge for them. They do, however, seem way more relaxed than I've ever seen them look. So maybe the time that they're spending together is helping them bond a little more. Maybe it's all the sex that they're having, but they seem way more relaxed. When they go to Austin's apartment, Jess does seem a little judgy. You don't have a sheet on your bed. How often you wash this comforter? I just feel like it felt a little, look at this. She says she's super tidy and he's not. I didn't really write a bunch about them because they were kind of uneventful. The one thing that stood out in their conversation with Pastor Cal was the salary conversation. He makes substantially less than she does. Those were her words, not mine. And it may be a cause for some concern. They talked about kids and they said 2 to 3 years because he knows that his salary is going to increase. And that timeline is about 2 to 3 years. And he doesn't want to have children before he can, quote unquote, afford them. Can we ever really afford children? But I think with him making less money than her and the tone that she kind of gave me when they were at his apartment, feels like it's going to be kind of a power struggle. Kind of I make the money here, you don't. I make more money, you don't. Like she calls the shots. Just my thoughts. She also dominates the conversation a lot. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't write much about them. That was the only flag. I wouldn't even say it was a red flag. It was just kind of maybe mauve, maybe fuchsia. Not a red flag. Maybe a fuchsia flag. They seem comfortable. They seem like they want to move in the right direction. They seem like they want to fall in love. So maybe they will. Up next, my friends, is Katie and Derek. And for the most part, I thought Katie and Derek were moving in a positive direction. She said when they got to their apartment that she's starting to feel married. They are excited to make this apartment their place. So they go to each person's apartment or homes to get their stuff. He notices at Katie's apartment. Was that her apartment, or was that her parents' house or her house? It was a house, I know, because she brought stuff from upstairs. Anyway, she has lots of photos of family, so he knows that family is very important to her. They go to Derek's place to get his stuff. She goes through his drawers. Derek has a gun and money in the drawer. Is he a drug dealer? Does he work for the cartel? Is he part of the mafia? Who is this guy? He says it's a pretend gun, but sir, I think she was expecting to see maybe a box of condoms. They seemed fine until they sat down with Pastor Cal, and some things came up, right? So I mentioned maybe 2 weeks ago that I was wondering if this issue of the ex was going to come up, and lo and behold, who came up this week? But I only think he came up because she felt some kind of way, that he said something about them being roommates. So Derek's thing is he doesn't know if the 8 weeks is enough time for him to fall in love with her. And he even said, I can't see me falling in love before 6 months or a year. Well, oh Lord, what is he thinking? Like, people fall in love at first sight. But it will take that long if you put that blocker in your mind. Pastor Cal asked him, have you ever been in love? No. Well, how do you know you've never been in love? That's the thing. I don't know that I've never been in love. I think he might be putting too much in it as opposed to just kind of letting it happen. Just let it flow. Let it flow. That's not how that song goes, is it? No. Let it flow. Let it grow. Like Pastor Cal says, he thinks people grow in love, not fall in love. I think he might be starting to overthink it. He's used to living with a roommate, so that probably is where he is. They just got home, so he's just gonna have to. But he said time will tell. Let time play. Let time do what it does. So after he says that's when Katie says, well, Pastor Cal, remember I told you about XYZ. Yeah, well, he called me and told me he loves me. And that made me feel some kind of way. And then it's like, yeah, he told me that. And it hurt because, all the time I wanted him to say that. And then he didn't say it until it was time for me to get married, pretty much. And then she comes back with, the ex is not an issue, and, it won't be a problem. There's been no communication. We don't even follow each other on social media. Pastor Cal asked her if he came back, or if he asked you to come back, would you? And she breathed a long, heavy sigh of, I don't know. Well, ma'am, you gotta know. Because that puts her and Derek in a bad position. Like Derek said, I didn't know I was competing with an ex. Again, you're doing him a disservice. Let him know. But it wasn't about the ex. It was about her being petty. My opinion only. I think even though they ended, they actually ended on a better note than they did after their conversation with Pastor Cal, because they sat down. She said to him that the ex is not an issue. But I'm glad that he asked her the question, Derek to Katie. I'm glad he asked her the question. I'm glad he felt the need to, felt it was a good idea to talk it out between the two of them and the cameras and us. But without Pastor Cal is what I mean. I guarantee you, if she could get into it, if she hasn't already been in contact with the ex, I guarantee you that it's still weighing in the back of her mind. Well, if he's not going to fall in love with me, then I still have this guy over here to fall back on. That's not cool. Y'all know who's up last? Zach and Mindy. Zach didn't come home. I didn't even want to say home because he doesn't call that his home. Zach did not go to the mutual apartment. He says he didn't want to. He says he wasn't ready to move in with her. He didn't think it was in his best interest to move into the apartment with her, and he wanted to do it his way. That's not what you signed up for. You signed up to be married at first sight, not dating. Like, maybe he should have gone on The Bachelorette. Maybe he should have gone on I Love New York. Does she still have a show? No. Maybe he should have gone on The Dating Game, but not Married at First Sight. So the wedding meant nothing. The honeymoon meant nothing. So you just go to your own place. Okay. So Mindy has drinks with her friend Mallory. Was that her name? Something like that. The one thing that bothered me about that is that when I got married, my mother-in-law told me that when you have a problem with my husband, come to them. Don't go to your friends and don't go to family, because his people know him. If you go to your friends and family and you badmouth him and you slander him and drag him through the mud, and then you guys get back together and you're over it, they're not. They won't be. So that was my biggest problem when she was venting to her friend, because her friend is now creating this image of him in her head, and for whatever Mindy is not telling her, she's filling in the blanks, and now she has this composite sketch, for lack of a better term, of who he is, and she doesn't like it. So if at any point Mindy forgives him and they get back together and they decide to work this out, her friend is going to always have this in the back of her mind. Always. It never goes away. So I was glad to see that she talked to Pastor Cal, and then he talked to what's his name? Zach. Went and talked to Zach. So when he went to go talk to Zach, he says that Zach told them he wanted someone who was intelligent and had drive. And that's what Mindy is. Now, I don't know if he was bullshitting them with that, or if that's what he thought he wanted. That's not what he wants. He wants a wide-eyed, ditzy girl with big boobs and who goes to the gym with him. I know I said before that he talks in circles, and Derek kind of co-signed on it. Mindy has said, I don't know what he's saying, and he rambled something on to Pastor Cal, and Pastor Cal said, yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to understand. Like, I just feel like he is not genuine. He's not. I just don't see it. His responses to Mindy are, I'm not attracted to you and I don't know what to do, but I want to do what I can to make it work. I want to make it work, but I don't. We got together and talked to Pastor Cal together. He says, I want a chance to miss her. We've been confined together in a suite in Panama for a week, and now I want to just miss her. I want to call her and say, what are you doing? Well, call me from the other room. Pastor Cal was like, this is a 2-bedroom apartment. Like, you can do that here. He makes every excuse not to. And whether he's attracted to her or not, I just think being genuine with her. Like, you have to you have to put in some effort. It's not going to happen on its own. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to work at it. And I think he's just so used to women falling at his feet that he can't stand to be in a relationship where he has to actually work. Pastor Cal says to him, attraction will grow if you just give it a chance. He's not giving it a chance. He's like, I'm not attracted. I don't know what to do. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. Okay, well, then you don't want it to work. Just say, I'm not attracted to her And I just can't handle that. So I need to be out of here. Don't string her along. Pastor Cal asked him, do you want to stay in this marriage? Or do you want to make this work? Or he didn't say, do you want to stay in this marriage? But do you want to make this work? And he took a long sigh, a deep breath, and a slow yes. And I just feel like in that moment, they were giving him an out. Take it, sir. Take it. Take it. I hope that they can find some common ground somewhere. If it's not to be in a relationship, at least they can part amicably. That it doesn't get any more tense than what it is right now. I really feel bad for Mindy. I mean, she started off this thing not having the support of her family and trying to give it, the best that she could, and for it to fall apart, especially this soon. I just feel bad for her. I haven't seen her sister since she's been back. But maybe she'll show up next week. All right, guys. I'm done for this week. I don't have anything else to say. I'll see you same time, same place next week. Be here. Subscribe. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.